So what you'll need to do this test is a pair of needle nose pliers like this and the bottle of test strips right here. You take out a test strip. Actually, you need to take out two. I'll show you why you have to do that in a second. Okay, so here are two test strips, and you can see they have a slight color, kind of a very light rose color. And the reason why you want to do two strips is because you don't necessarily want to use this on the back. It's close, okay, to both of those, but you can see there's a bit of color there already. So where that falls in the spectrum, I don't know. That's why I just compare it with the one that's not used. Okay, so now that we got that, I'm going to go ahead and take the cap off. Now this cap is where the oxygen comes out, but is also where the water goes in. So after the machine's been running for a while, anything that's in there is going to be circulating around inside the reservoir. So that's where we want to check for the chromium, because that's where the sensor is for the TDS. Okay, so we're just going to let that in there for a few seconds. Okay, you definitely can see that it's wet. I don't know if you can see that in the light. But then we're just going to let it sit here for a second on a paper towel. Make sure your other one does not get any wet, doesn't get wet. Let it sit there for a second. I think I'm doing this correctly according to the, I haven't done it in a couple of months actually. Yeah. So I should have timed it for 30 to 45 seconds, but we have a clock running on this, so we can determine that. But I'm not seeing any color change so far. Okay, I'm gonna bring them up closer to the camera. And I'm not really detecting any chromium 6 there. They look pretty close to the same to me. Well, maybe a slight difference. Maybe not. Gonna compare it to the bottle. And you have to use your own judgment on this too. You know, I mean, you're learning how to take care of all your hydrogen needs, and this is part of it. So if you're doing this consistently and you're seeing the same thing, then that's telling you that there's no decay. If you do this like once a month, it's telling you there's no decay because nothing's changed. Even though it's close to this one right here. In fact, you know, I could do something here. It'll make that a little bit more exact. And that would be just cut this little tab off the end. And now we can kind of line it up directly with the bottle and see where we're at. I'll see it looks pretty close to that right there. Well, maybe not. It looks, I don't know where it, like I say, if you do this consistently and you're constantly having this, you know, deliberation as well as to whether or not you're seeing color change, that pretty much tells you that it's not changing, it's not decaying. Another thing that will tell you that is just right in the front of this machine, you have this long window here, and you can see the quality of the water. If it turns brown or gets cruddy, that's telling you you have decay. If you could run this thing like this one has been running for a little over a year, it's only had one TDS trip, which was, like I say, in the process of doing electrolysis, there's always some sort of crud made. And so in 1 year, I just kept adding water, and in 1 year, I got a TDS trip, which meant the first thing to check is you dump out all of the water, you put some fresh distilled water in there, put the cap on, give it a good shake, dump that out, and then put in new water. And if the machine comes back online, that means that it just had some crud in the water. And the reason why you get a TDS trip is because it changes the continuity or the connectivity across the field inside the electrolyzer. This one has a polymer exchange membrane in it, which is like, it's kind of like vinyl, plastic, something like in that range, but it allows current to flow through it one way, and the oxygen and hydrogen gas to be made on either side, and then it's directed into these ports. And that's how that works. If it becomes easier, the controller and the machine, if it becomes more connective, meaning that it's getting too hot, it's making more gas than it should, that's when you get a TDS trip. The other way it can happen is if you're running it, let's say for a couple of years, you get a TDS, you rinse it out, you get another TDS. What that's telling you is that you need to do an acid treatment on the machine. And I'll be going into that later because you could do it two ways, either with vinegar, white vinegar, or you can order some citric acid and use that. Either way, you mix up the solution, follow the instructions. There's a certain sequence on the button that will put it in cleaning mode, which will bypass the TDS trip. It will let it run for a period of time, and when it stops running, it's telling you, okay, I'm clean enough. You dump that out, rinse it again with fresh distilled water. You might have to do that 2 or 3 times to get everything out of it, which is not very much liquid, maybe 3 cups. And then you test it, turn it back on. If it comes online like normal, you've had a successful cleaning, and you've cleaned any scale or buildup that is resisting the current flow across the field. So it can either be easy, too easy of a current flow, or a resistive current flow. Either one will give you a TDS trip. But as we can see from this machine, I think the health of it after over a year of work, running it anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day, it's telling me it's got a clean bill of health due to this test. So whatever machine you buy, make sure you learn how to do this test and do it at least once a year. I'd say every 6 months. Okay, on to the next one.